Hey, this is Doug Henschen, VP and Principal Analyst at Constellation Research, covering data to decisions.
And this is Dion, Hinchcliffe, Vice President and Principal Analyst, covering the future of work and new C-suite. And we're your co-hosts for episode 53 of Constellation Research TV. As usual, we're covering news and trends in enterprise tech. And this week, I'll share a summary of my visit to Mobile World Congress in Barcelona last week, which was pretty incredible.
And that's going to be followed by Andy Thurai with a segment on MLOps. And in our final segment, Dion and I will be back to talk about the latest Constellation ShortList and our ShortList updates. But first, let's get to the news.
All right, last week I had the privilege of attending Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. It's always an epic show, but it was interesting. The industry was kind of at a inflection point. You know, the transition to 5G has happened. 5G, including IoT devices, the development of Edge, and the rollout has happened, and the investments have been made. And the general consensus is there's a lot of dissatisfaction because the cloud hyperscalers have all of the market valuation. They're taking advantage of all this infrastructure and generating huge amounts of traffic. So the top six big tech firms generate 60% of all the traffic on the 5G networks. And the 5G networks have to build out all this infrastructure. And they're realizing they're just selling basically dumb bandwidth for a monthly price, and they're not getting any of the value add. So there was a lot of soul searching evident on stage from all the industry practitioners, from a lot of the European telecoms, who are just saying, how do we build new business models? So a lot of discussion about climbing the stack and saying we got to put APIs into 5G, we got to put business services onto these networks, or basically our lunch is going to get eaten. So that was one of that was probably the big topic at Mobile World Congress. Never mind an onslaught of events. Robots, where robotic technology was infusing the show. Artificial intelligence was everywhere. We had autonomous robots walking up and down all the aisles, overtaking humans. It was very interesting to watch kind of the first real mixing of that. So there's real futuristic things that were happening too. But really, as 5.5G becomes the next trend to deal with the vast rise in user content. The pandemic generated tremendous amounts of traffic coming from homes going up instead of what all the telecom thought, which was all this traffic coming down from the providers. And so everything's kind of flipped, and everyone's trying to figure it out. And that's really the big takeaway, other than robots and AI. Doug, how about you?
Okay. Well, Microsoft on March 6th announced Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot, billed as the first generative AI capability for both CRM and ERP. On the CRM front, imagine generative sales messages, generative service messages, customer segmentation and marketing, websites and personalized marketing messages and such. On ERP, Dynamics 365 Business Central promises bringing generative AI to commerce. So it'll create product listings and attributes. Microsoft Supply Chain Center, talking about proactively flagging issues such as weather disruptions, financial exceptions, inventory problems. So separately, Microsoft had previously announced a Chat GPT plugin for Microsoft Viva Sales, but this is something in GPT-3 specific for Dynamics Sales, Dynamics ERP, and everything is either in preview or limited preview at this point. So not to be outdone, Salesforce on March 7th announced the private preview of Einstein GPT, expected later in 2023. A key point here is that execs said Einstein GPT will be large language model agnostic. So they plan to use Anthropic, Cohere, as well as OpenAI, and possibly other language models. They said this is a fast-moving space, and we don't want to be pinned down to just one. Another key point, execs said Einstein GPT will be personalized in tone and voice based on data and context from the Salesforce Customer 360. So the data cloud, aka Genie, that data layer will be key to enhancing and updating the large language model with current Salesforce data. Execs also promised privacy guardrails and trust, with humans always being in the loop on the use of this AI-generated content. They showed a demo with sales, service, marketing, developer use cases, sounding familiar from what Microsoft has announced, and with Einstein GPT quickly generating customized sales and service messages, personalized web landing pages in the marketing context, and Apex code generation in the developer context. So, concerns here, I can think of, and I asked executives about wallpaper syndrome, where it's a novelty at first, and agents might, look at these things. Salespeople might look at these things a few times, but once they get comfortable, they'll just click and hit send. And then, are they really going to scrutinize that? Dion, I know you might have things to share on that. The other question was, how is this going to run? Where is it going to run? It's a large language model, so you assume it's going to run in the cloud. That would suggest it's something for Salesforce Hyperforce, consumption-based pricing. Price might be a big factor with this, particularly if lots of questions are being asked, likely to see some sticker shock. Dion, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I think there is concern about the wallpaper and ringtone syndrome that we can get with these technologies. Because when I've talked to product leads, I talk to CTOs of technology vendors. All they're trying to figure out is how to apply generative AI to their products today to improve everything from product to sales and marketing, so that you can intelligently answer questions. Most chatbots today, when you ask them a question, they just give you some boilerplate out of a knowledge base. There's a lot more promise here, I think. So I think the value is going to be there, but you're going to see a lot of Me Too. And that takes me to my second segment. So I'd like for my second segment to be a little bit more on the cutting edge, whether that's quantum computing or advanced AI. But some research papers have emerged recently that appear to show, right? We're still being peer reviewed, appear to show the ability to take functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRIs, of people as they're watching images, and then be able to use generative AI to show what they're actually thinking. That's remarkable. It's true. That's brain scanning, and it has a lot of privacy implications. A lot of I think there's just basically unlimited ramifications. Now, of course, right now people have to be inside a giant and very expensive magnetic resonance imaging device, and you have to have all the right things. But like all technology, Moore's law and all of the power laws of tech are going to drive this down. So one day you will have applications in law enforcement and police investigations and things like that, where people are going to want to be able to get that information and have all of the constitutional implications of this. But I really dug down into how true this really is, and really the attempts are quite crude and only work in very specific, limited situations. But it is theoretically possible to do this. I talked to a number of AI specialists over the weekend, and they believe that where we are today is not really able to achieve general purpose retrieval of images and information. It has to be either have to be trained AI, or you have to have a very limited set of models where the patterns are very clear in the neurons. But it's potentially able to get there if we can create higher resolution scanning. And of course, that's what the industry is working on. So these are the kinds of implications that ultra powerful technology in the industry is going to lead us down. And we're going to have to come up with ways that either the industry regulates itself, and that's done through ethical, responsible AI, or as we've seen in Europe with the AI Act, you may have to publish your models and other technology and ensure that you always protect privacy. And so it's going to be interesting to watch. But that is on the cutting edge, and these things are in the lab. They're going to get a lot better, and we will see them at some point in the next half decade, I would say, as commercial products. Okay.
Well, back to AI in the kind of the here and now, or at least in the preview at this point. We had multiple generative AI announcements thus far this week, and we're going to see some more, specifically in the BI and analytics vein. I'm under NDA on a couple of those. Previously, of course, Microsoft talked about the use of GPT-3 for things like natural language generation of DAX code. That's the coding used across the Power BI, Power Apps, Power Flow portfolio. On March 6th, in addition to those other announcements around Dynamics, it made 2 GPT announcements. Power Virtual Agents Conversation Booster. Point your bot at a company-specific website or knowledge base, and it will start answering questions with no human authoring. And then also AI Builder model for content generation. This is for use in conjunction with Power Automate and Power Apps, natural language to generate Power FX formula. And on March 7th, in addition to those Salesforce announcements, Einstein GPT will be used in conjunction with Tableau. So it'll improve things like natural language query and explanations, storytelling, and faster, easier, and better sentiment analysis. And then we have this ND announcement coming on March 9th from a prominent augmented analytics vendor with a search-based experience, and I have to leave it at that. I'm working on a market overview right now, and lots coming in this vein. We've seen other vendors talking about it. Sisense talking about using generative AI for data cleansing, segmentation, enrichment. More to come on that front. But that's all the time we have for the news this week. But stay tuned for Dion's report from Mobile World Congress, Andy's report on MLOps, and then Dion and I will be back for our latest round of ShortList updates and highlights. But first, let's hear from our producer, Hannah Hock, on what's new and noteworthy at Constellation Research.
Hi everyone, welcome to another segment of New and Noteworthy. I'm Hannah Hock, Senior Marketing Manager at Constellation Research. Well, we are less than a month away from Constellation's annual Ambient Experience Summit, or AXS, hosted on March 27th to 28th at the Culinary Institute of America in the beautiful Napa, California. AXS will bring together the top CXOs for several days of discussing best practices, the latest strategies in customer and employee experience, and how exponential technologies such as AI, automation, and analytics will transform experiences and business models. In addition to wine tasting and networking, a highlight of AXS will be honoring our AX100 executives, which we officially announced at the end of February. Constellation Analysts selected these global leaders across every industry who are transforming employee and customer experience in 2023. We are excited to recognize these executives with congratulatory dinner. If you're a CX or EX professional and have not registered for AXS, please head over to our website under our events tab and sign up today. If you are an AX100 or BT150 executive, please reach out to us for special alumni prices and packages. Well, that's all I have for you this week, but I will see you next time with another segment of New and Noteworthy.
This was my first trip back to Mobile World Congress since 2019, before the pandemic, and the show is back into full swing now. And we arrived on site in the influencer bus that Huawei made available to us. This is the Grand Fira, the location where Mobile World Congress is held every year. It's a massive conglomeration of halls, 8 in all, I believe. And this is the entrance right here where we went in. What was immediately striking, however, at this year's show was the presence of robots. They were ubiquitous all around the show floor, often roaming the halls like these ones from Unitary Robotics here. We saw other types like this home security robot, which keep your home or business safe. Lots of automation was in evidence throughout the show this year.
Welcome to MWC 2023. Nice to meet you.
One of the things that showed how mobile and edge devices are really moving to the center of the business world, we came across this major area right by the keynote stage that had a lot of the management consulting companies. We had Accenture, PwC, BCG, even McKinsey were in evidence, showing how big the mobile industry and 5G, edge, and the whole cloud story is. We saw all this as we headed to the keynote stage to hear about the main themes of the show, which this year, now that 5G has been broadly rolled out by the carriers, they're finding that they really only have low-level business models, and that the hyperscalers are really consuming a lot of the traffic and the infrastructure they have to build out. We saw this message being delivered repeatedly here on the main stage at MWC 23.
It's
but let's hear more.
astonishing to me to think how far we've come. The truth is that none of us would be here at MWC 23 if it weren't for mobile technology and mobile connectivity. Over the past few days or decades, it's become core to our daily lives. It's changed the way that we imagine the world.
Another key watch phrase at MWC was sustainability and how to get the industry to continue to move towards the goals, the UN's 15 goals that they've laid out for creating a sustainable environment. And progress is good, but more has to be made. Another focus is on standards. Open RAN, which is getting all the carrier stack equipment to work together, was a hot topic. And although progress has been made, we're still in very early days. But the hope is to be able to create cross-border, cross-geo configurations, carrier configurations that work together more seamlessly instead of having stacks inside each telecom. So that was a major focus as well. MWC has turned into a major startup hub as well. The 4YFN show, that's 4 years from now, has 700 companies in 35 countries showing here. This is me taking a tour of the massive hall, and 5G, AI, edge, cloud startups of almost every description were here showing off their wares, and it made for some fascinating exploration of all the new things and all the innovations that were taking place. But if you had to boil this year's show down to just a single idea, this would be at 5.5G, the bridge that will help get 5G to what it actually needs to be to support the exploding user traffic around the world. That's Dion Hinchcliffe, Constellation Research.
Hey all, your favorite AI analyst Andy Thurai here. So I'm continuing my research on how to make enterprise AI ML scalable, how to make innovation move from the ideation experimentation phase to deliver business value quickly, less painfully, and in a most cost-efficient way. A vision without an execution is hallucination. If you sit on an idea or a vision, someone else is going to execute the same idea and get something better, faster, and cheaper sooner than you think. If you miss being that category definer or market maker, you lose that edge. Catching up to someone who was the first out of gate will always make you play second fiddle. As part of this research, I'm talking to different ML personas, MLOps practitioners such as data scientists, ML engineers, DevOps folks, and even SREs, as well as the decision makers. Surprisingly, while the end goal is the same, the issues they are facing are somewhat different. While I discussed many topics with them, there are a few topics that stood out to me that's unique to the decision makers and practitioners. A common problem I keep seeing is that how many enterprises hire data scientists and they are fast experimenting with many models. The problems faced in this phase are different than getting them out to the production. With data science experiments, you need localized data store, localized notebooks, localized CSV files might be, and they don't like being rushed during the experimentation. And generally, they don't have interaction with the outside world. You experiment on things to figure out how it works and what doesn't work at your own pace. Majority of the model never sees the field, though. When you try to move it into production, the actual problem starts. Things start to break. Enterprises just finished figuring out how to operationalize on cloud and hyper platforms, doing things in a cloud-native, agile, and fast iterative pace of moving the code that's produced. We need to figure out how to move the data science experiments to produce business value fast. Let's move the models into production fast. This involves converting the geeky data science experiments into something the DevOps release folks can consume and easily deploy. Things like containerization, deployment into multiple nodes, into Kubernetes clusters, etc. And more importantly, the current observability systems don't provide any help with model monitoring either. In my conversation with the decision makers, you know, the guys with the checkbook, a constant theme keeps coming up. How can I protect my existing investments when I engage in the data economy full contact? It's totally understandable. Especially, this came up in the conversations often. Leveraging existing data solutions such as Snowflake, Databricks, or Cloudera to do MLOps with minimal data movement. Granted, majority of the data science time is spent on data preparation, things like identifying the right data, working on the data quality, proper tagging, annotation, all take a long time before they can get to work on the model preparation itself. After that's done, if they have to move the data to an MLOps platform, it creates multiple issues. Too much of data movement back and forth. Unless you properly sync the data, it could become stale. And care should be taken to set proper controls so only the right people can access the right data sets, etc. A common winner we have seen is to directly do data preparation, model movement, model deployment, model monitoring directly on solutions like Snowflake, or faster for a faster, more secure process that limits the data movement back and forth while keeping full control. This also gives the ability to quickly iterate and improve on models rather than going back and forth. Another common requirement we have seen is the adoption of Kubernetes. Customers expect the chosen MLOps solution to be fully cloud native, fully automated deployment across multiple compute nodes. Expecting customers to manually deploy a chosen MLOps solution across clusters is a losing proposition. The third common requirement that we often come across, which may not be applicable to you, is if you have consolidated on a single cloud, is the multi-cloud option. They expect the solution to be at least available on the top 3 hyperscalers as a fully managed solution: AWS, Azure, and GCP at a minimum. Model monitoring in real time, or monitoring the model drift. They expect real-time alerts when a model has drifted beyond expected limits and should be restrained. They expect not just the notification, but they want to see an explainable process why a model might be drifting, showing the visual effects of a data drift, showing how it has changed over time. Our good friends at DataRobot are doing a detailed session on some of these topics on March 16th. You can find the link to register down below. If you want to continue to hear what I'm saying in this space while I continue my MLOps, scalable AI, and enterprise-grade AI research areas, please follow me on my social handles below. I'm happy to chat with any of you anytime. Send me a DM.
Hey folks, Doug Henschen here, and we've just released the latest updates of the Constellation Research ShortList. I'm here with Dion Hinchcliffe, and we're going to share a few highlights from our latest lists and our latest updates.
That's right, Doug. Our Constellation ShortLists help to speed and narrow your search for the technologies that enterprises need to innovate and transform their businesses. And we have more than 100 shortlists now, and they're freely available. You can download them at constellationr.com/shortlist. I published 10 updated lists, mostly in the future of work category and some in the new C-suite category. They're definitely, most of them had updates, so definitely worth seeing. How about you, Doug?
Well, I published one new list in this wave and updated 6 other short lists, all in the data decisions category. We make our selection based on customer references, on partner conversations, on vendor selection processes, and market share and internal research. My newest shortlist is on data integration for cloud-based analytical data platforms. These capabilities are increasingly important as companies move to popular data lake, data warehouse, and lakehouse platforms, kind of doing both with one platform. And these would include things like BigQuery, Databricks, Redshift, and of course, Snowflake. The threshold criteria for this new shortlist is extracting data from popular sources, because that's pretty routine. Loading data with scheduling, automation, and latency options. Here you have to be kind of multi-cloud savvy and load at scale for these platforms. You support conventional ETL, but also ELT, because the data is extracted and loaded into these platforms, and then a lot of the times the transformation happens in these cloud data platforms, so they can keep the raw data and curate their data sets for things like analytics. They should support cleansing and enrichment. as well as data delivery. And this is going back out from these data platforms to applications to update those applications, or it might be for a very modern use case like bringing data sets up, making data sets and updating data sets in a data marketplace. They should also ensure data and data model reusability and solid governance, and support multi-cloud deployment. And the vendors on this inaugural shortlist: DBT Labs, Fivetran, and Matillion. 3 vendors that have innovated for these modern environments and use cases with cloud-native experiences. So congratulations to those 3 vendors.
All right, and on my first updated shortlist for 2023 is digital adoption platforms, which is a category I've been tracking for a half decade now, longer actually. And I now call them table stakes for a digital employee experience. And so a digital adoption platform assists users in completing their tasks, shortening the training cycles, improving productivity. But they're more than just a bunch of accelerators. They also generate a lot of data about what people are actually doing in their digital workplace. And then you can use that to find out where pathways have to be smooth, where training has to happen, how accelerators and in-screen assistants can actually come in and ensure that productive tasks are happening even more quickly and efficiently. And I've seen digital adoption platforms take a task that would take maybe 50 clicks to complete across 3 different applications to take just maybe 10 clicks, and it actually will pre-fill any fields out for you that you actually know. So it really accelerates the way that work gets done, but also trains workers on how to use the tool in a best practice way to accomplish a specific task. And these have become increasingly popular, and they've won our Supernova Awards year after year because of the results that they produce. Because they actually can tell you the data about how much time that they're saving users. Workers as they get things done. So digital adoption platform shortlist can be found at conr.live/DAP. You can see that on the screen. The threshold criteria is generally what you'd expect: pre-built templates and integrations for popular business apps, on-screen guide, personalization, preferably one-on-one, so understanding what that user really needs specifically and assisting them, making it easy to develop digital adoption content, dashboards and analytics, support for most types of end-user glass, desktop, web, or mobile, and use now of artificial intelligence is a new criteria I've added for a rules engine to dynamically improve workflow conditions. So it's all that the AI that we're talking about. And of course, like many of my future of work categories, there are a lot of players, and there's few leading players. So I've got a number of solutions here, and they are AppQs, AppT, Pendo, Speckit, User IQ, WalkMe, WhatFix, User Guiding, and new for the 2021 Q1 shortlist, 2023 Q1 shortlist, pardon me, is User Pilot. And what do you have next for your shortlist, Doug?
Well, my second shortlist of note on this round is cloud-based planning and performance management platforms. An update of the name, just from cloud-based planning, adding that performance management element because customers are interested in the analysis, reporting, consolidation, and close, not just the planning. Threshold criteria here, rapid cloud deployment. These are all cloud-based platforms. Agile planning and forecasting, of course. Flexible modeling and scenario what-if analysis, support for operational planning use cases in areas such as sales, HR, etc. You want these to be in conjunction with the financial planning. Sales scenarios are really important in the context of what to expect in terms of finance. Headcount, similarly. Rich analysis and reporting tools. Modern interfaces, really easing frequent analysis. This sometimes is underemphasized. When we've got planning and analysis that's happening, monthly or even weekly, that has to be easy, as opposed to the old days when this sort of thing was done at a quarterly basis or an annual basis. And then lastly, a lot of augmented capabilities coming into this space. With insights, predictions, spotting exceptions in financial conditions and sales and HR and such. And the vendors on this short list are, this has been a pretty stable list, Anaplan, OneStream Software, Oracle, Planful, SAP, and Workday Adaptive Planning. Most of those have been on the list for a while. I guess the most recent additions were SAP with the Analytics Cloud, handling a lot of those operational use cases, and OneStream, some Hyperion veterans there leading that company, and they're getting a lot of big customers, in some cases making inroads on the legacy Oracle deployments.
Well, my next one is Digital Canvas Work. And this is a product category that has been around for a while and getting very popular with applications like Miro and Mural, which are well-known visual collaboration environments that became ever more popular during hybrid work. During the pandemic, and as people began to return, we needed ways for people to really, in a very creative and innovative fashion, come together, bring all their apps, all their data, put them on these big infinite canvases, start to collaborate, brainstorm, and they've been very effective, especially Lucid Spark, Same Page are doing some really remarkable things, and they're you'll see them on the shortlist in just a moment here. But they're really key for bringing together people who are not all in the same place. Distributed teams are the future. We have a lot of them now. Just we now have the largest hybrid work, the largest divide we've ever had between in-office and remote workers. And so digital canvas workboards are an essential. I don't consider them table stakes quite yet for every single employee experience, like digital adoption is. But if you have a hybrid work environment where a lot of work is being done in these distributed groups, these digital canvas workboards can really help. You can see the threshold criteria here. You need to have a way of bringing.
So, Dion, what other list was interesting on your end?
Bringing everyone together, some visual model that makes that easy. We want to be able to access this from pretty much any touch point. So that's key. Is to be fully hybrid work friendly, it's got to be mobile, tablet, large screen, even wearables, and some do even have that. It's pretty interesting. But you want integration is probably the most important capability with a lot of third-party applications. So you want the majority, or at least most of your key business applications that you spend a lot of time with, working with other people in. So this might be Microsoft Word or PowerPoint, but also a lot of business applications like SAP and other things. You want to make sure that there's integrations for them. And most of them now have large numbers of integrations of the most common applications. And it's easy to add your own very specific enterprise-grade applications too, so that you can bring all this together into one place. So you can have all of the visuals and all the big ideas for a project, along with a project plan pulled from Microsoft Project and a whole bunch of other things all side by side. So integration is probably the most important thing. But search and discovery is also key. It's a great way to bring all this data together and then be able to search across everything. And these are very powerful features. And then you want, ideally, templates and use cases for your industry. So pre-built canvases that already have a lot of, say, if you're running a project, this is kind of how you should structure it. It's worked very well. This template's been proven across hundreds or thousands of clients. And that lets people start up projects and teams get going very quickly out of the gate. And so these are the things I look for when I want to consider a new solution for inclusion on the list. And in terms of the list, we have one new entrant this year. That's Apple Freeform. That's now heading the list because it's in alphabetical order. But Apple's entry into the space kind of validates it, like they do with a lot of categories. Freeform was released last year with not a lot of fanfare. They know they have a lot of catch up to do, yet they've done probably the purest native implementation of a digital canvas workboard we've seen yet. They need a lot of features to be put in there, but they're going to be to really be fully mature. But we really want. They're going to be a pace setter at some point, we believe, in this category. But rounding out the list is Coda, Dropbox Paper, Lucid Spark, Miro, Mural, Quip by Salesforce, Same Page, and Stormboard. And that's it for digital canvas workboards.
Well, that's a quick look at 4 of our latest Constellation shortlists. Remember, we have shortlists in more than 100 categories, so visit constellationr.com/shortlists. And of course, if you need more help narrowing down technology selections, we also offer advisory services to help you pick the right candidates for your organization. Well, that's a wrap for episode 53 of CRTV. Get set for our next episode in 2 weeks.
That's right. Co-hosts Holger Miller and Liz Miller will bring you episode 50 of CRTV. In the meantime, follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter at ConstellationR and at the hashtag CRTV show.
Thanks for watching and have a great week.
Is that my cue? Was I supposed to jump in?
Yes.
Okay.
Mobile World Congress.
Yep. All right, so just wait for a pause.
Generative AI capable. Let me do that again. So not to be outdone, let me give you a better pause than that. And use cases and with cloud native. Let me just do that part again. Blah.
Reach out to us for special alumni pricing.
Without further ado, remember the week we forgot that?
Yeah, and I had to do it.
Are you recording? You got to capture these priceless gibber.
Oh, I'm recording. I'm recording.
Okay. My morning eyes are like, ah.